Well, everybody, how do I say this collectively? Like, you heard it last night. You know my thoughts. It's not a happy Monday. It's not a victory Monday. And unfortunately, neither for my guest, one, Tommy Stout. It's not victory Monday either. But are we handling Monday okay after what happened last night, or are you kind of in a dark place right now?
Yeah, the night was rough, but woke up this morning, sun is shining, and it's on to another week of being a Bears fan. So what are you gonna do?
You know what? I like how you put that word. She's like on to another week of being a Bears fan, because like literally, I feel like so I listen to Part of My Take usually every week, and especially during football season. And Big Cat basically summed it up perfectly, where he's just like like all his emotions summed up how a Bears fan feels right now. And I'm like, I feel like you're the exact same way. I don't know if you listen to it or not, but like how he's just like kind of tired of Matt Nagy, and like how it's just this whole prolonging process of like not playing Justin Fields and everything.
Yeah, so actually that's funny because I did just listen to the Bears segment on PMT like an hour ago or hour and a half ago or something like that. But yeah, I mean, oh boy, disaster play coming up here. He obviously, I don't want to say he speaks for the entire fan base because that's just like a ridiculous statement. But like everyone that I know, if you talk to them, they feel the exact same as Big Cat. Like you said, it's we're prolonging this whole thing so that Fields can come in at the end of the season and he'll play well, and then Nagy and Pace can be like, "Oh, see, we drafted him, but he's still developing, so you got to keep us for another year, 2 years, or whatever it is." And it's kind of, I feel bad for Dalton because obviously, I mean, he knows, we know, they know, everybody knows what's going on, but like he's getting dragged through the mud and this, that, and the other thing, which I'm guilty of doing, but it's got to start with Nagy and Pace.
Yeah, you know what? It's got to come down to those two. At the same time, too, and a lot of people, there's a few people out there who've been kind of claiming to this, and you've said this before too, because this is now your fourth time on here. But I feel like a lot of the time, Ted Phillips never really gets recognized for responsibility with the organization because he's been there for over 20 years. So maybe they do kind of like what happened in Washington with Bruce Allen, where maybe if they clean house, they clean it completely, and then Ted, like somehow Ted, it's the end of Ted's time too with the Bears. But at the same time too, who really knows where it's George? Is it George McCaskey is the name under Virginia's son?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay, like I just feel like that too, where it's like something's got to give, but at the same time too, I feel like Net Pace can go to like Phillips, and then Phillips and them can go to the McCaskies at the end of the season and be like, hey, Justin's still Justin, but at the same time too, it's got to be shit or get off the pot. I feel like the fact that he played last night, the fact that he had a touchdown, you can't just have him sit on the bench. You got to start him eventually. And I think this Sunday is a true proven test because you're playing a Bengals team who got a pretty good win over the Minnesota Vikings, which I know you probably love to see. But if you guys go out there and lose to the Bengals, you're going to hear a lot of people from Chicago calling for Fields to start the Week 3 game, which I'm trying to remember who it's against because I know Week 4 is the Lions, but I think maybe the Ravens Week 3. So I feel like, yeah, if all doesn't go well against Cincinnati, I think you can put it off. Like you have to start him against Baltimore. But if Dalton goes out there, looks fine against the Bengals, you can prolong it. And then I still see that benchmark for him actually starting is that Week 4 game against the Lions.
Yeah, I think it'll all come down to like, so I want to say it'll all come down to how much heat, Pace and Nagy are feeling. Like you said, the kind of unwritten name in this whole thing. And if I recall correctly, I believe we've talked about this before as well, so I won't go too deep on it, is, Ted. Like you said, he's been around 18 million years, and he's always kind of working behind the scenes, making decisions, not making decisions, whatever it may be. And he just never gets any heat at all, it seems like, other than from like super, super dedicated Bears fans who look at it and go, hey, like, wait a minute, like there's this other guy here. I can't see him. I can't see the McCaskies. I can't see anyone putting any heat on Pace and Nagy right now, with the exception of the fans. Now, if the fans voice their opinions loud enough, then maybe things will change. But I feel like we've been doing that for the past 2 years. So I think at this point, it's kind of a thing where it's not going to happen. But yeah, I think sooner rather than later, we're going to have to see Fields in at the very least, like splitting snaps, but more than likely, like he's the guy. Because I mean, at the end of the day, look, he is. That's it.
No, 100%. I looked it up while you were talking. Ted joined the organization in 1983, but he's been the president since 1999. So he's been there. This is now his 22nd year with the team. And even he's only the fourth president in team history, apart from George Halas, obviously Papa Bear, Michael McCaskey, and I believe George. Like I think it's a George Halas Jr. So the fact that in the 100+ year history of the franchise, there's been only four presidents is remarkable. But yeah, at the same time too, the apart from I'd say the 2006 season, the 2010 season, there's nothing really that Bears fans can claim to be like a complete success. I know it was a Super Bowl loss and an NFC Championship game loss, but those were years where, look, the Bears actually went far. As I see a kid dressed as Chucky, really creeping me out. Like I just saw them; they're showing crowd shots of like the fans going on. And I see a kid in a headset with Chucky. I was like, "What the fuck?"
I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw that.
Yeah, and for folks, those of you wondering, yes, we are recording right now as not the Rams, the Raiders and Ravens play. So if you have live reactions during that, that's why. But no, back to your Bears. It's just like we talked about this off air too. I was surprised because the front seven looked fine. David Montgomery had a really good game. It was just the secondary. The secondary was the weak spot, and you have Eddie Jackson, who I believe got a new contract in the offseason back there. Like it's like one of those things where I'm just like, look, they have to figure it out. And obviously, too, it's a new defensive coordinator. Chuck Pagano obviously retired, but the Bears, it's just. I remember for years they were always like a punching bag of mine, but now I kind of want to see them kind of get things right. But who knows when that'll actually be?
Yeah, and so coming into the season, the secondary was definitely a question mark. I didn't think it was going to be like this because anyone who saw the game last night knows, oh my God, it was like maybe the worst performance I've ever seen out of a secondary. I mean, it was bad. And I think, Eddie, he's had I think really it was just the 1.5 years where he was just an elite, like ball hawking guy. And he hasn't been that at all. And in fact, he's been like bad for the last 2 years, which has been a crazy turnaround. And like you said, the new money doesn't help matters, kind of makes it hurt a little bit more. Just another notch in Pace's belt going out and giving money to someone who probably doesn't deserve it. But yeah, I mean, there was also videos, some people have seen it, some people probably haven't, but videos, I guess, just came out yesterday of, I think it was probably training camp. And Eddie Jackson was like talking to the other secondary guys. He's like, oh, I'm not trying to tackle him. I'm trying to like knock him down or something like that. It's like, dude, yeah, you should probably try tackling him once or twice because it was painful to watch. And it's kind of a flip of the script from what I expected. I thought, with Dalton, with the offensive line, I thought the offense was going to be horrible. And it was yet again going to be our defense that kind of keeps us in the game. Not saying the offense was great because it wasn't, but like they did a lot better against the Rams than I thought they would, which is kind of pathetic considering, it's not like we scored a whole bunch of points at all, but it was a weird game, everything.
Yeah, like exactly, because you kind of hate those kind of games where it's like your offense does enough, but then the defense made a few mistakes to where it cost you guys in the long run. Like I said this last night on my post-game pod with the Pats, where it was the same sort of thing, and with them in Miami, because both teams played similar style games where it just came down to which offense made less mistakes was going to win the football game. In this case, obviously, I know it's different. Matt Stafford looked great, but at the same time, too, I feel like if the Bears want to win the secondary, can't let explosive plays happen all the time when you play these high-flying teams, because like the Bears still have to play. I know the Packers got killed yesterday, but the Packers have Devontae Adams, Justin Jefferson with Minnesota. You guys play Tampa this year. Like there's those games where if you don't let those weapons get contained, they're gonna burn you, and they're gonna burn you bad.
And that's the thing. A lot of people are kind of battling within the Bears fandom, this morning especially, but even throughout the day. Like there's a lot of people saying, hey, we're not always going to be playing the Rams because let's face it, the Rams are good. Like it's not like we got beat up by some terrible team. Like, I'll give them that. Does that excuse the performance? Absolutely not. But some people are using that as like a mental bargain with themselves, I guess, where they're saying, hey, we're going to play bad teams too, and this and that. It's like, sure. But if you want to have any success in the NFL, like, you're going to have to beat a good team or two eventually. So it's just like our brains are so broken. I mean, mine included. So I don't know. It's frustrating. It is what it is, but it's frustrating, man.
Oh no, I get that. I get that completely 100% because look, when you're one of those teams that could potentially be that like fringe playoff team, you're gonna have to go out there and win a couple of games that you're not supposed to win. Like, look at you guys last year with the infamous Thursday night game against the Buccaneers. Like, you're gonna have to and that's not just like the Bears, but that's all of the fringe playoff teams are gonna have to go out there and have performances like that where you go out there and you shock the world, kind of like what we saw yesterday in a few games where not so much was it shock the world, but there were some other results in the NFL where it kind of caught people off guard.
Yeah, and obviously, to me at least, the Packers are the big one. Love to see that one. It's just, I mean, I'm gonna, because I'm a Bears fan and my dumb brain can do this, I'm gonna convince myself that it was just a weird week in the NFL and the Bears secondary isn't actually that bad. In reality, it almost certainly is, but I'm gonna chalk it up to first week. It was a wacky week, and off we go to week two.
Yeah, exactly. But like it was like that for a lot of teams though, where you got some weird performances, like Buffalo, for example. Tennessee was another one I was saying off camera because like Tennessee for me was a team where I thought going into the week, I'm like, you know what, they're going to cover, they're going to take care of business, no problem, everything's going to be fine. When in reality, they got killed 38-13. Buffalo like just looked really plain and like just like yeah, plain. Like they didn't do anything special. Excuse me. And then you had the Packers, which is just the big one of the day, where I remember looking at the scoreboard at one point. I'm like, okay, it's 10-0. I'm like, all right. And then it was 17, and then I saw 31, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, it's just results like that where it leads to week one overreactions. And honestly, I I know some people hate it, but I honestly love seeing the week one overreactions because in like 2 months from now, that's all they can be, where it's just like, oh yeah, that happened, it's fine, or it can be unraveling of something even worse.
Yeah, and I think that's also a good thing to me because, I mean, with the NFL season comes the overreaction. So it's nice to kind of, have those overreactions back, even though obviously my week one overreaction is very negative. It's just, it's nice to have it back. It would be better if it was like a more positive overreaction, like, oh my God, we're going undefeated and win the Super Bowl. Justin Fields is the greatest. But, I'll take what I can get here.
Well, I mean, we're getting that from the few fan bases where I'm seeing right now where you're getting a reaction like that is the Philadelphia Eagles who went out there yesterday and like 32-6, which to me was one of the more shockers of the day. But then I think at the same time you have that quick realization where it's no, the Atlanta Falcons are just that team where they need to rebuild, but they're putting it out for as long as they can because they still want to pretend like everything's fine. But no, it's not.
Yeah, and there's, like you said, that's probably, to me, that and the Packers are the big ones. There were some other like weird games, but I think those are definitely the most weird. It's just, the best way I can put it is it was a weird weekend watching football because kind of everything where I said, hey, this is going to happen, it's like, well, actually the opposite happened. Other than, of course, they left too much time for Brady, as always. And then Mahomes stages the comeback, and those two are, kind of everlasting. But other than that, everything was weird.
Yeah, exactly. Because like when that Dallas game though, going into that game, I know some people were saying like it was ESPN mainly. They're going like, "Oh, Dallas is going to get killed. This is going to be a bloodbath." And I'm like, "Yo, the Cowboys are going to cover." And I remember my dad actually called me crazy for that because we're in a spread pool together, and I told him I said take Dallas. It was at 7.5. I said take the points. And what happened? I lost by 2. But yeah, no. As soon as they kicked that field goal with a minute 24 left, I'm like, yeah, you just left too much time on the clock. Brady's going to go down there and march downfield and win this game. Like, you've seen that chapter written way too many times. Like, it's just, you knew it was coming.
Yeah, and at this point, like you said, that chapter has been written so many times, it might as well be a dictionary because it just happens every single time, which is what made the Bears game last year so crazy and that's why I overreacted to it so much. It's like, oh, this never happens. But actually, I had like a similar thing, except the opposite. Last week at work, he's not a coworker, but he's a regular. He came in. He's like, you know what? I think Dallas has got a chance here. I was like, oh, you're crazy. You know, they're gonna lose by 1,000. But yeah, I mean, it's just it comes down to Tom Brady. It really does. And obviously, that's a couple days in the past at this point. But I'm still always thinking about Tom Brady and what it must be like to have a quarterback like that.
It was fantastic. I can tell you that much. But no, but even going back to the Cleveland Kansas City thing, like it was the same thing too. I took the points on Kansas City to cover, but I knew Casey was going to win the game. More or less, not the timing aspect of it, because I feel like when it comes down to who can drive the field and get you a game-winning drive, like I'm always going to put my money on Tom. But at the same time, too, my thing with Mahomes is just you can't take your foot off the gas. Any defense you're playing, if we saw it in the playoffs 2 years ago, hell, we saw it in the Super Bowl against against Kansas City, against San Francisco, where if you give him time to come back, you're gonna get burned. So, you know what? It was Casey doing Casey things, but man, Cleveland is a team not to be messed with. Like everyone's gonna look at it and go, "Oh, Cleveland, like they have this bad opening day record," but man, the fact that they went toe to toe twice against the Kansas City Chiefs says a lot. And I know it goes back to last year's playoffs, but still, if they had that, what was up? Okay, Derek Carter threw an interception. Yeah, but the Cleveland Browns are a team not to be taken lightly anymore. Like they're not. It's not like the whole the Cleveland Browns suck. No, it's Cleveland Browns are a legit football team.
Yeah, and I remember, obviously, I think it's fair to say that Baker had a rough start. Everyone that was anyone was saying, oh, Baker's the next Johnny Football. He's just like he's got all this hype, and then he comes in and he's nothing. But they're building a nice little team there in Cleveland. I'm obviously not saying they're like, oh, they're going to win the Super Bowl. I guess they could. It's the beauty of football, but like they've got a nice, solid team that can be very competitive. And if everything comes together, who knows? Maybe they do make a run.
100%, I agree with you there. And I think that may have been the ball may have touched the ground before the receiver, the defensive back caught it. By the way, yeah, the Raiders are about to punt, so that was not an interception. The other result I want to look at yesterday, I want to talk about quickly, is the Jets-Panthers game, because against the Carolina defense, which I called on the show, is kind of underrated. Like I think Brian Burns could potentially be a DPOY candidate. If Zach Wilson continues to play this way, or the Jets O-line does, Zach Wilson's going to hurt himself. And now I know I'm a Patriots fan. I hate the Jets, but I legitimately believe that I think he got sacked 6 times against the Carolina defense, which isn't one of the best defenses in the league. He's got the Pats defense to worry about now, and then the Broncos defense. So that offensive line's got to shore it up, or otherwise, you know what, it could be bad for Wilson, and you don't want to see anyone get hurt, but that's one takeaway I had from that game.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a similar thing that I've been dealing with. I've seen a few Jets fans, I'm not super locked into the Jets fan base, but I've seen a few just through social media or whatever say, hey, like if this line keeps playing like they are, and obviously Zach's got a lot of talent, like he's a really good player, but it could turn into a situation where like, of course you want to see him out there, but every time he drops back and you see that line start to collapse, it's like, oh, is this the play where something's going to happen? And I kind of had that same feeling about Fields. Like anytime he would drop back, I guess he was only in for like 4 or 5 plays, but of course I was hyper fixated on him. So just anytime I saw him in the game, I was like, oh my God, like offensive line, please hold. And it's just, it sucks to have that mindset because like you should be enjoying it as much as possible. But as a fan of the team, and even just like as a fan of football in general, you have to think about that stuff because you got to, at the end of the day, protect the asset that is supposed to be the future of your franchise.
No, 100%. Yeah, you can't have him running for his life the entire time, because that's when like stuff starts to happen. Like even look at Daniel Jones yesterday, where I even saw, like, I'm not a Giants fan by any means, but I'm connected to a bunch on Twitter, and they were tweeting like, "Look, we're done making excuses for Daniel Jones. Like he had a bad game yesterday. If I'm a Jets fan right now, you don't want Zach Wilson going down that rabbit hole or where he goes out there and the O-line messes up, you're thinking, is this the play where my quarterback gets hurt? Like you said, there's just so many factors to think about because, like, look, you have this guy who has the potential to be your franchise, and you don't want to fuck that up because we all know the Jets truly haven't had any real success in 10 years.
Yeah, it sucks, but I mean, you know, like I said, as a football fan, that's stuff you got to think about, and it's all part of putting the season together, putting the team together, and hopefully, you know, I mean, for me, hopefully the Bears, but for Jets fans, hopefully, you know, it's something that they can build on and just keep improving, and at some point, maybe, you know, it turns into something. You just never know.
Oh no, absolutely. But obviously going back to the point we were talking about earlier with the NFC North, not with the Bears, but with the Packers. I love how all the networks, like when a team gets upsettingly shocked like that, they want to focus more. Oh, how did the Packers lose this game? Like I hate how they won't go, oh, hey, the Saints played really good and did this. Instead, it's the whole, yeah, you know, the Packers lost, and hey, the Saints happen to do this and this well. It's just I like to I like to see network TV more focus on, hey, you know what, the Saints did this, and this. Jameis Winston looked great. He threw for 5 touchdowns. The defense really clamped on Aaron Rodgers, whether he mailed it in or not. I'm just saying, look, I would like to see network TV recognize that more, like for what it is. Don't just hide it. Like recognize, hey, one team played really well compared to the other.
Oh yeah, and like obviously as a Bears fan, I personally love seeing everyone rag on the Packers and oh, is Rodgers, does he have one foot out the door, all that stuff. But dude, the Saints played so well. Like I'm sure there's some way they could have improved, but not by much because they just, to me, like played the absolute perfect game because it's not easy to completely just shut down an Aaron Rodgers Green Bay Packers offense. And that's what they did. And then on top of it, obviously they scored about 18 million points at the other end. So I mean, it was a perfect storm. And I get, you know, the TV networks have their storylines and they got to get those headlines out there. But yeah, I mean, credit to the Saints, man. They were something.
No, exactly. The one thing though I will say though, like you know how they say some teams look good through losses, like there's only I think one that can really hang their head on looked good through a loss, and that would have to be Detroit in my opinion. Like I know they're Detroit, but the fact that they didn't really give up, like I think in the years past you'd see a Detroit team just kind of give up and mail it in for the rest of the game, but the Lions yesterday, like I said to you earlier, like they came back and they managed to cover the spread against the San Francisco 49ers, so a team who looked really good yesterday. But at the same time, too, I feel like this Lions team, they're not going to win a lot of games, but I don't think they're going to go down without a fight in a lot of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not sure if it was last night or this morning, but I think Okuda, was it Achilles and he's out for the year, if I remember
Yeah, so
correctly?
Jeff Okuda tore his Achilles. He's done for the season.
Yeah, so that will obviously hurt them. He's been solid, but it's, you know, they're just one of those teams that I just kind of look at and I'm like, yeah, they're there. They will have there we go, scrappy wins and they'll keep games close. I'm going to hesitate to call myself a believer that they're going to, you know, keep this energy up the whole season. But, you know, stranger things have happened. So it's definitely possible. I just, you know, it's one of those things where just like I've seen the Bears do the same thing for years, I've seen the Lions do the same thing for years. So we'll see how long it lasts.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but when I say that, by the way, like they're gonna be 4-13, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think, like, even yesterday too with Houston, like, no one expected that. Which I'll get into that in a sec. But with the Lions, I'm just out here to say, like, they've got some pieces. We'll see whatever the hell happens with that DeAndre Swift news, but TJ Hawkinson's going to be a top 10 tight end in this league.
Yeah.
If they can get
Yeah,
a
they
solid
got some pieces, man.
And they also, too, in my opinion, they have a very underrated offensive line. If Penei Sewell can come into form and exceed expectations, they have some really good chances to be one of the better offensive lines in the game.
Must be nice. Yeah. I mean, yeah, there's so many things about them where it points to the positive. Like I said, I'm biased, so I'm not even going to act like I'm, you know, neutral commentator here. But yeah, I mean, if they keep putting it together and they can figure out the mentality of it all, they could be, you know, something in a couple of years here. Obviously, I hope not, but like I said, we'll see.
I mean, I'm in the same position right now with the AFC East where I know Buffalo's a good team. Like, I think a lot of people are going to look at yesterday and be like, oh, here, one year wonders. Like, what are the Bills? I'm just here to say, like, I think the Bills was a bit of a blip in the radar. I think they just kind of came out flat-footed. We didn't know what to expect. If they go 0-2, I think it's one of those things where, you know what, you look at it a bit and go, hey, what's going on here? But Josh Allen has a habit of going and playing the Dolphins and basically being like daddy's home. So I'm not too worried about them going into week 2, but we'll have to wait and see on them with that. The thing I was going to get with the Texans though is with their win. Um, as you heard here a few weeks ago with Big Rat and I picked them for survival, paid off. And that's one thing I wanted to get into. I don't know how close you are with college football, if you follow it as closely as the NFL. Like, I know you obviously went to a MAC school, but with the Jaguars, there were reports coming out, or people are starting to say that Urban Meyer could potentially leave the Jags and go coach USC next year. So we'll see what comes of that.
Really? I had not heard that.
Yeah, USC fired Clay Helton today. I don't know why or for what reason, but as soon as that happened, there was that. And Reddit actually had it was a report I saw on Reddit, believe it or not. I gotta look it up again, but yeah, literally, it's like the first report. Every network, USC coach fired Clay Helton. Everyone makes the same Urban Meyer joke. Everyone is saying it's the same thing. Basically, a lot of news sources have picked it up. Even it was a Trojans Wire on Twitter basically was saying that everyone's starting to connect the dots of like, hey, Urban's going to go coach the Jags. But I still think that if shit doesn't go well for Meyer, I could see him gone after this year. I thought maybe you'd give him a year or two, but man, that was also, this is the crazy thing. Yesterday was Trevor Lawrence's first regular season loss of his like, I think of his life. Like high school, college, pro. That's fucking insane.
Yeah, to be that good, and I mean, obviously, that's not built with just Trevor. He had talent around him, but to have that record, like that stat, just made my brain go haywire for a second. I was like, wait, what? That's you know, obviously that was going to happen. It's not like anyone thought the Jags were going to go undefeated, but yeah, I mean, he's just got to get that loss out of the way and keep being him. I think he's super talented. Obviously, I think he's maybe the second or third best quarterback in the draft behind Fields and whoever you want to throw in there. But yeah, sure. I don't know. We disagree on that, but that's okay. I think it's probably Trevor, Zach, Fields, or Trevor, Zach, Fields, whatever. Fields, Zach, Trevor, Mac. There we go. That's me. I'm sure that'll probably come back to bite me at the end of the season when Mac is somehow leading the Patriots to the Super Bowl with 18 million yards and all that. But yeah, I mean, listen, Trevor's got talent. He's not exactly in the best situation, but you know, it's another thing where, like I've said a million times here, if they build around him, that's a great centerpiece to have. So the question is, are they going to build around him, Tony Khan?
Yeah, that's the big thing right now, because I say this before, where Tony Khan runs a better wrestling promotion than he does a football team, which football comes first for them. But I think for Tony, wrestling's been coming first, which is not necessarily a bad thing. As you know, Tommy and I, Tommy, AEW fanboy, Griffin, slowly becoming an AEW fanboy. Fan, not a fanboy yet. Or actually, no, Tommy is our resident AEW shill.
Yes, correct.
Yes, Tommy is the official AEW shill of YWC Football Talk until I have one of Ryan Falcone or one of the Radar Boys on the show. But you know what? Actually, no. Tommy's going to hold that title forever.
I love it.
My thing with Trevor, too, is I think if he recognizes, hey, stay here for the long haul, they're going to build something around me, and we can build something special for a small market team, it can be special. Urban, on the other hand, I think if he sees it's going bad, I can see him just bouncing, because if USC also throws like a money bag at him, which we all know college football is more than capable of doing that, they won't hesitate.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I'm not a huge Urban Meyer guy. I'm not in on like his mentality, but the money flying around football and college football in particular, like, yeah, he could say, hey, you know, stuff's not working out here. See you later. I'm going to go make millions and millions and millions and millions per year at, you know, USC or whatever. I hadn't seen that, but hey, you know, nothing would surprise me.
No, me neither. And also just looking at other results from Sunday, the one thing I'll say about the Denver Broncos quickly is if they keep Teddy Bridgewater as their starting quarterback, this team has potential. If they pull Teddy or Teddy gets hurt, this team is not going to the playoffs at all. I think they're a potential playoff sleeper with Teddy, and they kind of showed that yesterday because Teddy Bridgewater actually, you put him in the right situation, he can flourish.
Yeah, and that's one of the few games that, I didn't watch too much, so I won't have too much input, but there was a huge Teddy conversation in Chicago during the offseason because for like 2 seconds, people were connecting the Bears. Oh, Teddy's going to come here. And then, of course, it was he's either the best quarterback of all time or the worst quarterback of all time and all the extremes that the fans come to. So, I don't have too much on that. But, yeah, I'm not a Broncos guy. Personally, I don't think they're going anywhere.
No, neither am I. I'm just saying that like he looked good. I only saw a bit of the game, and like I said, I saw more of it through Angry Giants Twitter because that game was obviously when the Patriots game was on, and I said it yesterday, and I'll say it again. My only thing was that look, Mac looked good. By the way, when I said Mac earlier, I only said that because like how you're pumping your guys' tires, I have to pump my guys' tires. That's how it
I know.
goes.
I gotcha.
And I respect that, and I respect you for doing it too. Like I think he looked good. It's just this deep, like our game yesterday was similar to yours. Like our secondary let them make way too many plays. Is Marlon, man, I keep saying this. Marlon Humphrey's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. Um, losing a train of thought. But with the Patriots, if their secondary and the defense can figure their shit out and not let crazy plays happen, and the offense can limit turnovers, this is going to be a good football team. Because if I seriously do think that if that Damian Harris fumble does not happen, we win that football game. And I hate doing the what ifs with football, but it's what you do.
Right. Yeah, that's part of being a fan. You say you hate it 1 second, and 2 seconds later, you're like, well, but what if? Yeah, I mean, it's at the end of the day, like for my entire life, they're always going to have this mystique of, oh, it's the Patriots, so they're going to find some way to put together like a 13, 14, 15 win season no matter what. I'm just convinced that they always will. So, I mean, like I said earlier, I kind of alluded to it. I wouldn't be surprised if Mac Jones turns into Tom Brady. I think he's super talented. I just personally take digs at him because he's on the Pats. So I'm like, no, he can't be good. Like, let someone else win, damn it.
It's all good. I completely understand. The only other two things I want to say about Sunday's games before I just have actually quick hot take about this game. If you're a betting man and you can still live bet the under. The under is, I believe, let me just get a quick look at here. Because I know Baltimore's got a spread at +4, 3, excuse me, 50.5. So if you're betting, bet the under in this football game. The only other takeaways I got from yesterday is that if Cliff Kingsbury is going to keep his job, Kyler Murray single-handedly going to do it because Jesus Christ, he looked fucking phenomenal yesterday.
I forget who it was. I think Jay Cutler might have tweeted this. Like, Kyler Murray is just a video game character. He is like, he's preposterous in every way, like in a positive way. He's crazy.
21 for 32, 289 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 rushing, and 1 interception with a quarterback rating of 121 point, like of 121. That's near perfect. I believe 133 is a perfect quarterback rating. So he only missed 11 passes yesterday. And also yesterday, everyone was reminded of, you know what? DeAndre Hopkins is a good receiver.
Yeah, it turns out breaking news, right?
Yeah. He had that just play where he just got his feet in bounds. And I'm like, that's where the best receivers are, the ones who can just get their feet in bounds like that and make an amazing play.
Yeah, and those two together, I mean, as much as we're pumping them up individually, like that's a nightmare for a defense, and it's an absolute dream for like if you're a fan of that team because they're electric, so they're fun to watch, but also they're just damn good, which I'm very jealous of. So I'm going to say that I hate them, but yeah, it was awesome.
I view it as like, Kyler Murray for me. I've always been a Kyler Murray fan. It's just I feel like Arizona just always puts themselves in these positions where they eventually cough it up and lose. Like the last 2 years, like obviously last year he got hurt. So I do especially think with him though, where with Arizona, if he stays healthy, they can be a playoff team. If he's not healthy, they're not going anywhere. And also, I think this year too is you got to make the playoffs if you're Kingsbury or you're fired.
Yep. Yeah. And it is funny, like talking about it. It does kind of come down to Kyler, doesn't it? That's a good luck, kid. No pressure.
Exactly. I actually tweeted that out yesterday. The whole I tweeted out basically saying Kyler Murray's going to save Cliff Kingsbury's job single-handedly. Like I
He's
didn't
good
watch the
enough to
whole
do
game.
it.
It was a lot of red zone and stuff, but I was just like watching it. But I was watching red zone, being like, "This is just." It was like serotonin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I could go on for hours about this kid. He's like, if I play Madden and I'm not playing as the Bears, I'm just running around with Kyler making 18,000-yard throws and running for 1,000,000 yards. He's like, in real life, he's like what I want him to be on the video game, which again, I believe was a Jay Cutler thing that I'm absolutely stealing from him. But he's one of my personal favorites to watch in the entire league. He's just, I mean, like I said, I could go on and on about him.
Yeah. One observation I'll make quickly from this game is the Raiders' defensive line has been making some pretty okay tackles against these Baltimore runners. Now, obviously, they let the one run go, but man, Villanueva just blew his assignment there, and they let 96. I'm trying to get a name. Made a nice tackle on the Baltimore running backs. Just a little quick side note with that game. I also want to apologize to any Seahawks fans out there because I was wrong. I said the Seahawks weren't going to make the playoffs this year. I think if Russell Wilson plays this consistent throughout the year, they're going to the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, again, Russell's another one of those guys where he just always seems to find a way. And I mean, he's super, super talented. He actually, I don't know if he still does it, but he used to do like an annual football camp at my college, NIU. So that's a fun little tidbit there. But he was, like you said, if he keeps it up, it's dangerous, man. He's just so good.
I believe his Twitter handle is Dange Russell Wilson for Russ Wilson for a reason. So
Yep.
you kind of put two and two together. I think we covered all the bases for all the games. Now I know we didn't go into all of them, folks, but I had to let Tommy, vent and get his frustrations out. I'm going to come on here right now because the betting odds actually been released for week 2. I don't know if you looked at them yet, but you guys, you're a 3-point favorite against the Bengals, so we'll see what happens there. But the one I want to talk about in particular is Thursday night because next time we'll be on air, the game already started. So obviously, to place your bets before there. Football team at a 3.5-point favorite, Giant against the Giants, with the over/under being at 41.5. I'm saying this right now, the under will hit. So if you're betting, bet the under.
Okay.
Yeah, because I just look even yes. Oh, that was the one game we forgot about too, which Justin Herbert, another quarterback in the league I like.
Yep.
He was good. Washington is just like the Giants football team game. It just screams like a 20-17 feel where it's just like something like that. Daniel Jones for some reason always plays his best football against them, so I want to lean towards the Giants, especially too after the Fitzpatrick injury. But Taylor Heineke can be okay, but I don't know who I want to win yet. But that's all I'm going to say is I think that spread gets covered regardless, and the under hits. That's all I got to say because I got to see what else because man. At this point, it's just up to Daniel Jones and that offensive line. If those two can find something, or even to Saquon Barkley, like he's got to figure it out. But for all I know, Saquon's going to rush for like 150 yards, and they're going to beat the Giants or the Giants are going to beat the football team like 31-0.
Yeah, I usually don't like unders, but I'm feeling the under on that one as well.
Well, it's like the famous Dan Katz says, life is too short to bet the under.
You're damn right.
You're damn right, but it's just there's some games. To be honest, whenever I go to bet, I'm always scared to bet the under because I'm like, it's just like you're praying for points not to happen. Like I'd rather pray for points to happen. But I think if I'm going to bet this game, which I may, I think I'm going to have to go with the under.
Yeah, and I agree. It does suck betting the under because then, like you said, you're sitting there hoping for them not to score. So, like, what's the point? But I mean, if you want to make money, I mean, I'm no expert, but I think that's the way to go. I agree.
I'm the same tier. I'm not a betting expert or anything like that. I'm just a guy. Which that was a really weird snap. This Raiders offensive line has not been looking that good tonight. There was the one snap earlier which we blanked over because you were talking, but then now there's a false start on them. Oh
Yeah,
man, this Raiders offensive line's a problem.
not good.
But no, I'm not a betting expert either. I'm just giving the advice of what I think will happen. And if you go and bet the under because of this, if Tommy or I get vicious tweets saying I bet the under and I've listened to you, I'm just gonna go, oh, okay, cool. You didn't have to listen to me. I'm just giving my advice on what I think will happen.
Okay, first of all, speaking of the bad offensive line, I'm sure you'll see it here in a second. Yeah, if I get any tweets, you're blocked. So get out of here. I'm not hearing any negativity because I'll be losing money with you. So we're all in this together, pal.
Yeah, I love that. We're all in this together, Tom. Man, Pernell McPhee just blew that offensive line up from the right.
That was bad.
Oh, Leatherwood too on Justin Houston.
Oh, okay. Spoiler alert: the punt returner muffed the kick there, and I had a little freak out. He got it back though. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Oh, Duvernay.
Was that Duvernay?
May have been Devin Duvernay. Let me just see this.
Yeah, it looks like Duvernay.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's Duvernay.
Oh yeah. God, I guess we're delaying the inevitable here, so I'll just listen. I need to say my piece here, and then whatever.
You do, man.
It's exhausting. It's horrible. It's like disgusting. Makes my stomach hurt. Makes my head hurt. But this is being a Bears fan. So I mean, if it's not one thing, it's the other. We finally get some hope in Justin Fields, and our coach decides, hey, we're gonna like just screw the fans and here we'll give him some snaps and he'll run it in for a touchdown and everyone will be happy. But then at the end of the game, when there's one drive left and the game's way past over, God forbid we put Fields in to get him some snaps. Nagy Phillip, I think everyone, I mean, I've said this before, but everyone's got to be gone. Obviously not including like Fields, guys like that. But Allen Robinson's agent responded to someone on Twitter. I forget who it was. It was some TV personality, I believe, tweeted like three word review for the Bears game, go. And Allen Robinson's agent replied like 16 more games or whatever. So there's very clearly like dissension in the locker room, which is the one thing that I've really given credit to Nagy for, is there's never been really any public fall aparts, even when, we went on a 5-game losing streak or we embarrassingly lost here, embarrassingly lost there. So that's starting to fall apart, it would seem. And you saw Justin Fields. That kid did not take his helmet off for a single second on the sideline. All he wants to do is come in and play football and help the team. And, I get we paid Dalton the money, and the whole idea, the stupid storyline that they're putting out there is, we got to have him sit behind Dalton because, Mahomes sat his first year and Brady sat and Rodgers sat. It's like, okay, they weren't sitting behind Andy Dalton. Like, no disrespect to Andy Dalton, as Big Cat says, nice guy, like him. But it's just, there's so much of this. Nagy and Pace are putting these little feelers out, I'm sure, into the media, and the media is saying, oh yeah, they're doing the right thing because Fields this and Dalton that. And no, like, they're trying to say that they want to be competitive, which, first of all, that's not true. Second of all, like, if you really want to be competitive, why are you playing Andy Dalton when, to me, Justin Fields does pretty much everything better than Dalton? And obviously he's raw, he's going to make mistakes, but they're not going to compete at the end of the day. So who cares? They need like as much goodwill as they can possibly get, because most Bears fans already want them out. They want the house completely cleaned, and they're just giving us more ammo at this point, which doesn't make any sense to me, because they're getting chased out of town already. Maybe they're just saying like, screw it, we're going to screw the fans one more time. But it's just, it's so frustrating the way that, players are being treated, the fans are being treated indirectly. It's starting to fall apart, and it's tough because, we had that one great year where everyone was convinced, Mitch is leading us to the Super Bowl, and as we do in our dumb Bears fan brains. But it's just, it sucks to see it collapse from that into, whatever it is that we watched last night. And really, I mean, the end of the day, like I said at the beginning, it's just waking up and another week of being a Bears fan and hoping that maybe we get to see Justin Fields on 6 snaps instead of 5 next week. So, I mean, I just, at this point, obviously I'm going to watch all the games, but last night kind of numbed me up a whole lot because, now we really know what this team is. And obviously they're not always going to look that bad, but it's time for pretty much everything to change. And it's, to me, been time. The only question now is the organization going to make the move? Probably not, but they need to, man, because it's not getting any better the way I see it. And I don't know. It sucks because we all want it. We all want positivity, but we go into the game and we're like, oh, big, primetime game. Maybe we'll shock the world, all this. And we just get beat down like we did. It's time for everyone to go and, give Fields the reins and let him do whatever he does. If he sucks, whatever. But to me, I would much rather see Justin Fields suck than Andy Dalton go in and do just okay. I don't know. It's infuriating. And I guess I'm really repeating myself. So at this point it's rant over, but just basically give Justin Fields the reins and that's it. Please and thank you.
Well, you know what? That's what I'm here for. That's it's this moral pain and suffering is why we're fans of this game. It's obviously I know you're a Cubs fan. I don't know how much of a Bulls fan you are, but I know you're a Cubs fan. You're a Hawks fan, and obviously you guys experience the highs with them. But that's the thing with football, where with those other sports, say for example, if the Hawks lose on Monday night, hey, Wednesday night or even Tuesday night, there's another game. Now with football, it's one game, and then the next game, it's you got to wait another week. You got to wait and see what happens. You don't know what's going to happen. That's just the whole, I say this too. Regular season, 82 games, 162, name the sport. The regular season anxieties, as the Baltimore Ravens, as Hollywood Brown just gets a touchdown, those anxieties, come back, those don't exist for the regular season until you're pushing for the playoffs, now with baseball or in late March, early April for hockey or basketball. Football, you experience anxiety going into every single game because every game can make or break your season. And that's what I love about it. And that's what I loved about you being able to get all that off your chest. Because for one, you probably feel better now. And for two, it's just knowing look, now you go into next week being hey, it may not go our way, but at the same time too, you have that little bit of faith where you're hey, all may go well. And that's what keeps bringing you around. And that's honestly, that's a good football fan right there. And I respect you for that, Tommy.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Like you said, it's nice to be able to, talk it out and go to my little football therapy session here. Cause last night was just, me and my dad giving each other dirty looks and oh my God, we're really doing this again. And what are we doing? And all this stuff. But at the end of the day, we're football fans and we're still going to be watching next week. We're still going to be rooting for the Bears. And like you said, there's always that glimmer of hope that maybe everything will be okay, which it won't, but maybe. You never know.
You nailed it on the head. That's all I got to say. I think we're about to wrap up here. I don't think we have much more to add. But yeah, no, that's the thing. Look, you get it off your chest. You realize, look, just like Jay-Z said, on to the next one. That's all you got to do. You're on to you guys. I was joking about to say we're on to Cincinnati, but you're on to Cincinnati. I'm on to New York. And at the same time too, you just got to realize it's just a game. At the end of the day, it doesn't affect the way we live our lives, but it's a part of our lives that look. Sometimes we're happy, sometimes we're sad, sometimes we're mad, sometimes we're glad. But at the end of the day, God damn it, we're glad to be football fans.
Mm-hmm.
I just had to go on and say that. Man, even yesterday watching the game, just the games in general, it just felt so good. It was just all is right with the world. I saw a meme of the world burning down, and then all I saw was Will Ferrell just yelling, and it just said the world right now, me, yay, football.
That's pretty much, yeah.
That's pretty much it. That's all we got going for Going for it right now. And by the way, I also got a Reddit alert on my phone because someone on Patriots Reddit posted a photo of, the Ralph Wiggum "I'm in danger" photo.
Yes.
Someone took Ralph's head and then put Zach Wilson's head on top of it, and just as him facing Matt Judon next week, chuckles, "I'm in danger."
Yeah.
So once this goes off the air, I'm going to take that to Patriots Twitter and just be like, "Well, look at this."
That's about to blow up.
Oh, I don't doubt it for a second. You know what? I'm going to put that into the stratosphere right now. Actually, as I look at my phone, I get, as I have texts from, Ryan Falcon texted me saying Lamar is ridiculous, and yes, he is because he just made a really good play, and they're actually, and in the moment like we were talking about before, they're up 14-0 right now. So, if I had to give a final score prediction for the end of this game, I'm going to say, would it be cruel if I said 28-3? Would I be cruel? I know I'm a Pats fan, but I'm going to say it. This game ends at 28-3.
I was going to say 24-3, maybe 24-6. Somewhere around there. But yeah, I mean, that's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, man. The way this is going.
Yeah, you know what? You're right, because the Raiders' offense isn't getting anything done, and I said this also in our AFC preview show as well. I think this is Derek Carr's last year with this team.
Yeah, and do they? I forget. I'm not up on the Raiders. Do they have like some guy in the wings waiting or no?
Marcus Mariota. So I think they're drafting someone next year because next year's draft, there's a lot of guys that are going to be coming out, but they're not like this year where it's like, the cream of the crop prospects. It's going to be like those guys you can get in like the mid to late first round and stuff. And that's probably the Raiders will be drafting like in probably the top end to the middle of the first round. So they could probably get somebody in there and just bring it in because I know Gruden likes to kind of control these guys on his own, or for all we know, Gruden makes a play to Aaron Rodgers.
Boy, that would be something.
Oh, God. You just imagine that, Rodgers in the black and silver?
Bring it on. Anything but the green and gold.
I also saw a wild rumor, too, saying the New York Giants for Aaron Rodgers, but at the same time, too, I was just like, you know what? I would love and hate that because obviously we know Giants fans, but at the same time, too, I'm just like, hey, gets him out of your division and it avoids my conference, so that's all I care about.
There you go. Hey, it works for everyone other than Packers fans, so that makes me happy.
And that's what you love to see.
Damn right.
Yeah. Well, anyway, folks, I think that's going to wrap it up here for episode. Oh, I got to look it up because I'm a dumbass. Episode 108 of YWC Football Talk. Tommy, it was a blessing to talk to you. We'll have to do this again sometime. Maybe do predictions next time instead of playing therapist. Or you know what? Maybe next time we're on here, it's a Victory Monday for both you and I.
Hey, thanks for having me. Obviously, wasn't the most fun episode, but I'm a Bears fan, so that's what it is. Yeah, hopefully next time is, like you said, either a Victory Monday or, I'd be down to do a preview, be a little more happy and chipper of here we go. So, yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem. I think we're going to call this episode Bear Down. Like, not like the emojis where it's just like bear down, just like bear down.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm sorry to do it, but I feel like that's just an appropriate title for this because I also realize this too. Whenever you and I actually come on and talk, the first time you were depressed because it was the season had ended and you didn't know what was going to happen. Then you were all excited because of Justin Fields. Then you weren't so excited and now you weren't so excited because obviously last night didn't go your way. Maybe next time you're happy. So you know what? I'm looking forward to happy Tommy the next time you're on YWC Football Talk, my friend.
That sounds like a guarantee to me. Thank you very much.
No problem. Anyway, guys, you enjoy the rest of week one. If you're watching this while by the time this is up, the Raiders game may not have much left in it. But guys, enjoy week two. I'll be back on Thursday night with Big Rat for our first Daniel Jones primetime podcast. But anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed week one, and I'll see you at week two. Have a good night.